Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Happy Friday. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you along as always. Jim Coyle with you, and it is Friday. You made it through the week happily. Looking forward to the weekend. The weather has been a little nicer to look at, except for yesterday. Mercy, I hope everybody made it through, especially if you're in the Bloomington area. These tornadoes, baby. It was a little rough night for us, for certain people in Bloomington. Tornado landing on the west side of town, heavy weather coming through. I haven't seen everything since. I mean, it happened late. We're in the dark, so lots going on. And it's becoming Tornado Alley in Bloomington. That's the second year in a row that it's been hit. So, but looking forward to the weekend. Big game tonight for Indiana as they travel to West Lafayette to take on Boiler Ball. IMG Academy. You're familiar with the that's one of like Montverde and all those biggies down in Florida. They will pay $1.5 million fine for accepting tuition from parents tied to a Mexican cartel. How about that? Yeah. That's happening. Hey, how about baseball spring training? I don't know if they're deep into it yet. I think pitchers and catchers have reported getting closer to that action. Women's hockey, they won the gold, beating Canada. I think the men are coming up next. Cheryl says others have won at Purdue if they play well. Well, that would be a hell of a win, I'll tell you that. It will be quite the upset. We'll talk to Staley more about that when he joins us. And as a matter of fact, I better send him the information. But yeah, hey, we've talked about it's a great possibility for Indiana, but it's going to be, that's a tough ask. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but that's a tough place to play. Very, very difficult. And Purdue's playing well right now. So we'll see. But it's going to be fun. It should be fun no matter what, to be able to enjoy that. I think Indiana matches out. I've said this. That's why they were. Zach Duncan says tornado last night. Oh, yeah, baby. There was one. Man, I've never heard so many tornado warnings, sirens going off. I mean, there's the one that's close by me, and boy, when that thing goes off, I'm telling you, it's like you're inside of it. But then there would be times where that one wasn't going off, and I could hear others in other places. I've never heard that here. They were going off everywhere. It was wild. Yeah. It was definitely a rough night weather-wise. I haven't seen all of the damage, but I know that a Fifth Third Bank was destroyed, and it was definitely a rough night for some. I hope that there were no injuries or anything like that, because I haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen any reports. We can only hope that that is the case. And if anybody else knows, but according to the reports, extreme damage across the central Indiana town of Bloomington. Tornado was part of a supercell thunderstorm, causing significant damage to homes, businesses, and infrastructure. The National Weather Service confirmed the tornado's presence, and Monroe County Emergency Management reported that the tornado was particularly dangerous. Its impact was widespread, affecting areas such as the airport, the Fieldstone subdivision, and Stone Chase neighborhood. The tornado warning for Bloomington was issued early in the evening. And there were all kinds of warnings. There were plenty of warnings. But it actually went from a watch. I was like, oh, wow, we've had a tornado watch. It was pretty quick. And there's that dude that is on, what is he on? He is on Facebook that does the weather. I don't know his name. Gritty sent me a link, and he's better than watching on TV. He is a tracker, man. Hey, let's take a break. When we come back, Kyler Staley will join us. Appreciate you being with us. Back with plenty more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level it up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, on this Friday. You're heading into the weekend, but you don't have to wait. Games tonight, Indiana in West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com will be there, and he's with us now. Man, this is, ironically, I've said that before the season, I said that Indiana matches up with Purdue as well as any upper level Big Ten team, and I still think that's true. We saw them able to beat them, although going to West Lafayette and doing that is a whole different animal. But they have the chance. It's not like that it hasn't happened. Purdue's lost there this year, but Indiana has won there in recent past. But it's a tough place to play, and we'll have to see if this team can overcome that. That's something they haven't done. They haven't, overcome a big time home advantage by someone.
Yeah, I mean, on both sides, Purdue and Indiana, it's a pretty big matchup, right? Because Coach DeVries, you look on the Indiana side, he's checked off some good boxes this year as the season's kind of gone on. I mean, obviously he got that big win with Purdue. That was his first signature win. Showed a really tough, gritty performance by his team at UCLA in a double overtime win, and just beat Wisconsin. What was that, 2 weeks ago? So he's got this Indiana team playing pretty good. Obviously the Illinois game, and you talk about matchups, right? When you look at how Indiana matches up to like a Michigan State, and Illinois, like those teams are very, very big, right? And Indiana is not a very, very big team. And you obviously saw that with the Illinois game. It was a bad matchup. It was just a bad recipe. It was a recipe for disaster in a lot of ways because, it's on a road environment, and how good Illinois is, how good or how big they are. I mean, how skilled they are. It's just a tough matchup for this current Indiana team. But you mentioned like them matching up well with Purdue. They do match up really well with Purdue. Obviously you got the road environment, the Mackey Arena, which is one of the toughest places to play in college basketball. Right. So, but they do match up well with them and everything. We saw that in the first game. You saw what Connor Enright was able to do to Braden Smith. You saw, you look at the Indiana front court and you look at Reed Bailey. I mean, he had a really big game of that Purdue game as well. And he took away, Clough, pretty much the whole entire second half. And obviously that front court of Purdue is where a lot of their strength is, other than Braden Smith, is where a lot of their strength is. So, I think Indiana, they obviously have an experienced team. They have an older team. I don't think that the road environment at Mackey Arena will affect them that much. I do think that they can keep it a game, especially if you get Lamar Wilkerson going early. As long as they just keep responding to whatever Purdue kind of throws at them, they can make this a game. Now, will they win this game? I don't know. I don't know if you could say that because Purdue's obviously desperate for a win, but
and they're playing well right now. They're playing.
Yeah.
I've been talking about this. They were down. They had just not playing well. Then all of a sudden, boom! Now they're playing pretty well, and they know that they need to keep playing well to maintain that third 3 seed level.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Purdue had a tough loss versus Michigan. And it just goes to further prove that Michigan is among the elite in college basketball. I mean, they're the number one team in the country for a reason. And for them to go into Mackey Arena and do what they did to a very good Purdue team with one of the best, point guards in the nation, and Braden Smith, what they were able to do against them, just goes to show you how good they are. But if Indiana's going to want to, compete, in Mackey Arena, obviously you've got to realize that it is a rivalry game. You got to bring that intensity right off the bat. You got to do something that kind of takes the crowd away from it, because we have seen, what Michigan was able to do. And I know Indiana's not Michigan, but obviously what Michigan was able to do is they took the Mackey Arena crowd, out of it pretty early. So if Indiana can do something like that to where kind of the air kind of leaves Mackey Arena, I think Indiana can kind of control this game a little bit, but they're going to have to play really good. I mean, the front court, Sam Alexis is going to have to play really, really well. Reed Bailey's going to have good minutes off the bench. Tucker DeVries is going to have to get you at least like 15, 16 points. Nick Dorn is going to have to get out of his slump and he hit some shots and take some pressures off of Lamar Wilkerson. And Lamar Wilkerson is going to have to be Lamar Wilkerson. I know that's a lot of boxes you have to check off, but if Indiana wants to get a really good win, if they do beat Purdue on the road, it will probably be their best win of the season. If they're able to do that, I think that Indiana has a fighting chance regardless.
Yeah, and you named a whole lot of stuff that's dead on right there, and there's not much more to say or add to it. Nick Dorn, one of those though that man, if they have to get him out of that slump to go forward, to do anything in the to win a game in the NCAA tournament, I think they need everybody hitting on all cylinders, and we've seen some other teams, Purdue coming together as one like that. They're hitting Michigan, Illinois. This is the time of year you have to be hitting on all cylinders, and that's the one thing is they were missing. Tucker DeVries for a while. You know, he was going through this and he's kind of come out of that. I tell you what has been, I've talked about this. Connor Enright has just been superb through the entire thing, man. He has, but was put into a different position and he's only thrived. He's helped make that team better game in and game out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first starting with Connor Enright, I mean, he is the glue in many ways of this team. And like you go back to how he did versus Braden Smith, and I don't have the exact numbers at the top of my head, but I mean, he forced Braden Smith and some really just struggled, with the on-ball pressure that Connor Enright was able to bring, picking up Braden Smith at half court, making things really difficult for him. Braden Smith never really had an easy pass or an easy look, hardly throughout that whole entire game. So Connor Enright, he has stepped up in many ways. And if they can get, taking Conway back and he can kind of get back to that energetic level, because obviously he's been kind of up and down this season. If they can get him back to playing some, really good minutes, and they can kind of give Connor Enright a break where he doesn't have to play 40 minutes a game, I think that only makes Indiana better. And then going to like Tucker DeVries, right? He's kind of taken, I don't know if you'd say he's taking a step back, but it seems like he's kind of taking a step back in a way of like, he's more on the ball. He's more of that point forward now. And Coach DeVries has talked about how they kind of put the ball more in his hands to be that facilitator, to be that playmaker a little bit. Another way to get, get the pressure off of Connor Enright, where he doesn't have to always be that facilitator, always have to be that playmaker that Indiana needs him to be. But, Tucker DeVries, like he is capable of getting hot. We have seen that throughout the year. But like, the best Tucker DeVries is when the game comes to him and he's not forcing. And I would say this last month, he has not really forced the issue on any stretch of the means. Yeah, he hasn't shot it the greatest, but like he's been playing really good. And then you also look at him just crashing the glass and being aggressive when it comes to the board. So obviously Indiana needed a lot of help there. And then you talk about Nick Dorn. He had that 3-4 game spurt where he was just automatic, right? And he was really, really good. Last Purdue game, he was really good. The UCLA game, really good. I think Wisconsin, he ended up with like 11 points or something like that. So he kind of got out of it, but obviously kind of went back to the struggles versus Illinois. But, Nick Dorn, obviously he provides so much spacing to them. And one of the best moves, I mean, arguably the best move that Coach DeVries made throughout the whole entire season was getting Nick Dorn in that starting lineup, because it just adds more spacing. It adds, the lane to open up a little bit more where they can attack. We've seen Lamar Wilkerson, we've seen Connor Enright. Those guys really attack the lane and get some success there. But Nick Dorn right now, the teams have seen what he can do. So obviously he's being guarded very, very strongly now. It just provides a lot of spacing, and he kind of plays a little bit of a decoy a lot of times, but he does need to start hitting some shots, right? Because you need to take pressure off of Lamar Wilkerson. Lamar Wilkerson can't score you. I mean, he could. I mean, he's really that good, but he can't score you 40 points a game. If Nick Dorn can, obviously get that kind of like 6 of 8 shooting from 3 or something like that, something really, really strong, Indiana has a chance to win this game. And I know Nick Dorn's in a slump right now, but I think, in the next couple of games, if he can kind of get his rhythm back or whatever, Indiana's going to be going into the Big Ten tournament, pretty good. And with a lot of improvement, the way that Sam Alexis has played, how the whole entire team is kind of gelling right now. If they can get those guys like Nick Dorn out of a slump or whatever, get Caden Conaway back healthy and playing some really good minutes, I think this Indiana team can be really, really dangerous moving forward.
I've said that. I mean, I think that they could win 2 games in the NCAA tournament, possibly, if they get all those things going that you just talked about. Ed asking, is Conaway still recovering from his injury? And I was wondering that. I don't think he is he? I mean, he seems like he's just coming off of the bench now, because I think that Connor Enright in that position, he's been more successful than Tatum Conaway was, to be honest with you. And it's a little surprising, but I think it looks like that is being left like that with purpose.
Yeah, I mean, Tate Conroy's had a rough month, right? So obviously he hurt his ankle. I think it was his ankle I think it was the first Purdue game. I think it was around there. I could be very wrong on that, but obviously he had the ankle issue where he just didn't really, it took a while to heal, right? And then obviously he got the flu, missed one of Indiana's games. I think it might have been the Oregon game, if I can remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong there. It's been a long season, but obviously, Tate Conroy's, he struggled a little bit, right? It's been inconsistency with him throughout the whole entire season. We've seen what Tate Conroy can do, the good version of him, the attacking the basket, the making plays, the opening up shooters, the kickouts and things like that. We've seen really good Tate Conroy, but we've also seen kind of Tate Conroy, a little disengaged at times and, a little bit not fully aware on the court, it seems like, but obviously, we know when a good version of Tate Conroy is on the floor for Indiana. Indiana is a really good team. But and then you throw in the fact that Connor Enright's been playing the way that he's been playing, the consistency that he brings on both ends of the floor. I mean, it's just really hard for if he is fully healthy and stuff. It's just really hard for Coach DeVries to really take Connor Enright off the floor. And then like kind of a sneaky factor you look at is like Josiah Miles, who's obviously been playing really, really well and has kind of taken a little bit of Tate Conroy's minutes, when Tate was hurt and stuff. And Josiah, not the elite scorer or anything like that, but just what he has brought from a length, from a perimeter defensive standpoint and stuff. Josiah Miles has earned a lot of minutes there, and he's not forcing the issue on anything. He comes in and does his job. So there's a lot of factors right now with Tate Conroy, but like I mentioned, like if you can get him, if he is going to be fully healthy, maybe he's not, we just don't know yet. But like if he does get fully healthy and everything, and he can come in and play consistent and he can give Connor Enright a lot of breaks and stuff, this Indiana team gets a little bit deeper. And obviously we know with like the depth of what Indiana's had, the lack of depth that they've had all season, if you can get a guy like Tate Conroy to come off the bench and give you a consistent 15, 20 minutes a game, that's going to help Indiana in the long run.
Yeah, and we've seen Coach DeVries really tighten that rotation, which we always see that any coach, the rotation usually shrinks a little bit as you get deeper into the season, just because guys are comfortable playing and you need them on the floor. But it's with Indiana, they don't have a deep bench to begin with, so that's an even tighter strain. Oh, daggone it. I can't, why am I blanking on his name? Trent Sisley, played a lot early on. His minutes have been, shortened down. He seems to play well when he's in there, but I guess it's just the freshman learning curve, part of that. And it's just the tightening of the reins to have your top guys out there, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously the big thing is, I mean, you look at Josiah Miles, right? And like he wasn't playing at all, for a good month and a half or so. I can't even remember like where he was even really in a game, and unless it was garbage minutes at the end of the game. But you talk about, you look at Josiah Miles, you look at Trent Sisley, those two, when their numbers called and their names called, Coach DeVries puts them in the game, they're ready to play, right? And they're ready to bring it. You saw what Trent Sisley did the UCLA game, right? Where it was like the Indiana was having so much foul trouble, and then obviously Trent Sisley comes in and has two really big plays at the end of the game to eventually help them win, on the road at UCLA in double overtime. But I'm not worried about the lack of minutes that Trent Sisley is not getting right now. I think he's going to be just fine. You also looked at, when he was coming in the game, who he was coming in for was Tucker DeVries, right? And obviously Tucker DeVries right now, and that's definitely an age gap, an experience gap. He's a lot more skilled than what Trent Sisley is. He can do a lot more of what Coach DeVries is asking for his team to do, what Tucker DeVries can do right now. Trent Sisley will get there. He's a very, very talented player. Absolutely. He will get there in a couple of years or so. But right now, it's just kind of you kind of have, like you mentioned, you got to kind of tighten the rotation right now. And Josiah Miles right now, what he can do, he's a little bit more versatile on the defensive side. For what Indiana needs right now than what Trent Sisley is. So I do think if Coach DeVries calls Trent Sisley's number, he's always going to be ready. I feel confident with pretty much everybody on the bench right now. You look at Reed Bailey, even though he has his struggles and stuff, he's ready to go. A guy that lost his starting spot, at a point in the season, he's always ready to go. He's ready to bring it for Indiana. I think Indiana's got a lot of guys that are just wanting to compete, and they're team guys, and they're not selfish. They're not going to, their lack of minutes is not going to affect the way that they play.
Snyder 31 says Josiah Miles is getting minutes because he tries to crash the boards, and anybody that does that for this team should get minutes because, man, rebounding is just such a nemesis for this team. I mean, it's badly noticeable. When it's that noticeable, you know it's bad. And boy, I remember watching there was a possession in the last game, I think, and they gave up 3 offensive rebounds in a single possession. And I'm like, what the hell? You cannot do that, because game in, game out, the 2 statistical categories that you could look at are offensive rebounding and second chance points. It has just really, really hurt that team. And it's something that they've got to get turned around because it is really costing them game. And another thing is free throws. They're great at shooting free throws, but other teams are now getting to the line way more than Indiana is.
Well, yeah, and we'll start with the free throws, right? There's a lot of teams, obviously, getting a lot of free throw opportunities against Indiana, because Indiana is one of the worst teams when it comes to fouling, like in the country. Like statistically, they are like at that bottom tier when it comes to how that they play on the defensive side. They obviously are going to compete on the defensive end. I will never question how hard that they work on the defensive end, but right now they're just not a great defensive team, and a lot of what they do and trying to slow you down is they use their hands a lot, and obviously that picks up a lot of fouls and stuff. But Indiana, if they can continue to get on the line, I mean, I think Lamar Wilkerson does a great job of getting to the free throw line and stuff. If they could do that and kind of offset that a little bit, Indiana will be fine. But you mentioned the rebounding. Obviously, I think that's a major area that Coach DeVries is going to have to recruit for when it comes to the offseason, whether that be the transfer portal, high school level, whatever. He's going to have to get some better rebounding, especially if you want to compete in the Big Ten. And you talked about last game. I mean, the second chance points opportunity was crazy for Illinois. For them to get all those offensive rebounds, putbacks, and that also comes down to Sam Alexis being the only guy that's can match the size of what Illinois can, and Illinois is even bigger than Sam Alexis. And the big thing is obviously, for Indiana, they want to play on that broken floor. They want to play out in transition as much as they can. They want to play fast. If the team that they're playing is getting a lot of offensive rebounding and Indiana is not able to get those defensive rebounds and push the ball off the pace, it completely takes Indiana out of what they're really good at. Yeah, they're an okay-ish. They're pretty solid when it comes to half court play. They move the ball pretty well and stuff, but obviously that's not what they are. They want to get those defensive rebounds. They want to push the ball up. They want to score on a broken floor as quick as possible. So right now, unfortunately, it is what it is. You can only ask guys like Tucker DeVries, Josiah Miles, those guys, Nick Dorn. You can only really ask those guys to just crash it as hard as you can when it comes to rebounding. But I mean, Indiana, no matter what team that they play, unless it's like some team that they really do match up really, really well with when it comes to a size advantage, Indiana's going to struggle in the rebounding area. But I do think in the offseason, I think Coach DeVries has seen enough film, and obviously what he needs to do is obviously get better rebounding, get a more stable front court play and stuff. So we'll just have to see what it is in the offseason. But right now, it kind of is what it is with this rebounding group.
Yeah, I'm surprised they can't get more out of Reed Bailey, but that's just not his milieu, man.
Right.
You would think that with his size, it would be, but it's not just him either. And I don't know, I'm not in practices, but I have to ask and wonder what do they do to focus on rebounding, because I don't see that on the court. I don't see a great effort at rebounding. I don't see any crashing of the boards. I see shots going up with a lot of opposing jerseys in the TV screen or around the basket than I do, home jerseys. So it's part of it is they're not looking to rebound. I don't think. I think that's just something that's not a focus.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. I do struggle to think
And
that
I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not in practice.
I do struggle to think that it's not a focus. I mean, especially in the defensive rebounding, Indiana needs to be a good defensive rebounding team because of what I said earlier. Like they want to push the pace and whatever. You gotta get defensive rebounds to be able to do that. And I think even a while back, Coach DeVries has even like kind of admitted that when it comes to the offensive side or whatever, obviously Indiana takes a lot of long shots or whatever. I think he's even kind of admitted like, hey, offensive rebounding is not really too big of a focus with us and stuff. Now, I do think if they can get a better front court, next year or whatever, they can get guys that are legit rebounders or whatever, and you can play a bigger front court. Maybe, have that stretch four a little bit and stuff. Because, I mean, look, if Indiana had another guy, and I'm not saying Josh Harris would have been that guy or whatever, but they would have had another guy, like a third guy to come off the bench. You could play more Reed Bailey and more Sam Alexis together because Reed Bailey's game, he's not really a true center, right? He's more of a face-up guy or whatever. He stretches the floor out, and it goes back to that Purdue game. They took Oscar Clough off of the floor for Purdue because he couldn't go out and guard Reed Bailey in the perimeter and space the floor. So I do think that Indiana would be in a much better position when it comes to rebounding, front court play overall, if they were able to play more of Reed Bailey and Sam Alexis together. But when it comes to depth, they just can't do that right now. And that's unfortunate right now, but that's kind of is what it is and stuff. But I do think that Coach DeVries is going to look at what he had, what the weaknesses were of this team, especially in that front court play, to be able to kind of upgrade that this offseason.
Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com with me right now on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And we'll take a quick break and come back and talk some more. Big game coming up tonight, but not only that, the Big Ten is big. They're big. But I'm trying to think of what they're big boying. They're puffing the chest out about this time of year, and we'll see how that can go through. But we've got lots more coming up. Back with you right after this.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. On this Friday, you made it through the week and through the tornadoes. Man, I know you live up on that what part of around the Indy? So did you guys get some rough weather last night, man?
Up in Fishers? I mean, not really. I mean, it's very windy. I was out this morning or whatever, but very, very windy, and it's very, very windy right now. So as far as a storm goes, I don't think it was anything super crazy.
Yeah, it was in Bloomington. Let me tell you, baby, it was a wild time last night. But so getting into this time of the year now, we're not that far away from the Big Ten tournament. Is 1, 2, 3 weeks away. 3 weeks from now, we'd be deep into the Big Ten tournament. And so that's going to be different. You're going to have all 18 teams playing in this thing, which one would say, oh, wow, you're going to have some upsets. I don't see many upsets at the bottom, though those teams are just not that good. But it's an opportunity for a team to move up. But I think for the most part, teams have to work their way out of seeds right now. Michigan is a clear number 1 seed. Illinois has a chance to, I truly believe Illinois has a chance to be a second big number 1 seed from the Big Ten. We've got Michigan playing Duke this weekend. So that could be a big, if let's say Michigan wins, that only solidifies them as the overall number 1 seed, but it may knock Duke off of that number 1 line and allow Illinois to move up. But, we've got a couple weeks of the season left to play, but man, that would be something to have 2 number 1 seeds from the league.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten is really deep this year. I do think that they could get, 10, 11 teams probably in the Big Ten or in the NCAA tournament and stuff. And when you look at the top part and that kind of elite level, I'll throw in Illinois and Michigan in there. I mean, you have 2 legit teams that could cut down the nets, come April in the Final Four and whatnot. Now, for like Illinois, I think if they were to go on and win the Big Ten tournament, I think that gets them that number 1 seed. I don't see a situation unless they just collapse where Michigan's not a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. But you mentioned like all 18 teams playing in the Big Ten tournament this year. I don't know about a lot of people. I like it. I like a lot of basketball, and I think the conference tournament plays are really, really fun. I think they're a great appetizer for the NCAA tournament and stuff. So there is always that one team, whether it comes from the ACC, the SEC, or whatever and stuff. There is a team that gets really hot and finds their stride and goes on a little bit of a run. For me, I'm really curious to see where Indiana kind of starts off the Big Ten tournament at. For right now, it looks like they're going to be a Wednesday team. But I'm curious to see if they can have a strong they got 5 games left in the regular season. If they can have a strong showing in those last 5 games and get, a lot of wins in that column or whatever, do they kind of creep up to that Thursday, starting the Big Ten tournament on that Thursday? Obviously, they're way too far out to even think about getting that triple bye in the Big Ten tournament. But there could be a situation.
Triple bye. First of all, just to hear that triple bye, wow.
Yeah,
that should go on a T-shirt. I got a triple bye. I went to the Big Ten tournament. And all I got was a triple bye in this T-shirt.
It's going to be funny to see because obviously you go to the Big Ten tournament, you see all those shirts that have like the brackets on it and stuff. So you will see kind of how ridiculous it is, how many teams are in the Big Ten. But obviously that is.
Yeah, you know what? For the Big Ten tournament, they have to use both sides of the shirt to put the bracket on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I also look at Indiana's like Big Ten tournament chances of how they're going to play. Do I expect them to win the Big Ten tournament? Absolutely not. But like they are a team. They remind me of, and I forget who I was talking to about this. It may have been our guy Alec, but we were kind of talking about Indiana. They are basically, when you have those tournaments and stuff, they almost seem like they're an AAU team in a way because, in those tournaments, the EYBLs and all that stuff, it's all about the team that gets hot and whatever. And Indiana has showed, like, if they get hot, in one game, their first game, and they win and they're shooting the ball great, they want to play again, right? And they want to play as soon as possible. So that next day, Indiana could be that hot team that kind of goes on a little bit of a run there for that. But obviously Indiana, it all comes down to shooting, right? And that's what we've seen a lot of the season be. If they're hitting shots, if they're competing, in that area and stuff and keeping themselves in a game, they can beat anybody. But obviously it just comes down to consistency at the end of the day.
Yeah, actually, the NCAA hosted a mock selection exercise ahead of the committee's first top 16 reveal Saturday. The results had Michigan, Duke, Arizona, and Houston as the number 1 seeds. No surprise, like I said, but we've got unbelievably Michigan and Duke playing this. This is like a Christmas present come late for this time of the year. We usually don't get these, but the last team in right now, USC, and Indiana was a 9 seed. Surprised me because I'm like, okay, they're a 10 seed. But if I were Indiana, I don't want to be a 9 seed. I'd rather be a 10 seed or even an 11. So you don't have to play the number 1 or number 2 teams in your second game. But we'll see how it works out. But if they're I still think they end up a 10 seed with their schedule. They'll have to beat Michigan State at home not to be a 10 seed. I think if they get that win, well, that may bump them to that 9. But I would not want to be a 9 seed if I had my option.
Right, because I mean, if you're an 8 or 9 seed, I mean, you're basically playing a team that's very, very similar to you, right? And so,
and then if you win, you play the number 1 team or
yeah,
number 1 seed.
Absolutely. I do think if like Indiana were to go on a run these last 5 games and they had a really big showing in the Big Ten tournament, obviously that's a lot of what ifs, right? But if they do that, I do think that they could probably creep up to a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. I do think that's kind of where their ceiling is. But again, it's got to be like a big run. These last 5 games, Big Ten tournament got to really show out and stuff, get a lot more quad wins, on that and take care of business. But I think Indiana, obviously, 8 to 10 seed. I think that's probably where they're likely going to be. But I do think if you ask a lot of Indiana fans, obviously it's been very, very rocky for Indiana basketball in the program, the last few seasons stuff. I think if you just ask them, they're just glad to get back into the NCAA tournament, and you kind of set that bar, that expectation, whereas like, okay, we got back to the NCAA tournament. Let's build on this. Let's be consistent. Let's get these right guys in and stuff. Let's get a lot of good players in the transfer portal, bring in a really good freshman class. Let's kind of build this thing and keep moving forward. But I do think Indiana, like I kind of mentioned in the Big Ten tournament scenarios, Indiana is a team that can get hot. And I do think that, I wouldn't want to play Indiana in the NCAA tournament just because of what they have. They have a guy in Lamar Wilkerson who could put up legit 30, 40 points a game. Then if they can get some surrounding help out of him, they can be a dangerous team. But it's all about the NCAA tournament. It's all about who gets hot. It's all about who can kind of consistently shoot the basketball, can get the stops on the defensive end that really go far. So Indiana could be kind of a team that you just don't really want to play just because of what they can do offensively.
I agree, and there are other teams like that. As we look toward the Big Ten, is fraught with teams that could get hot. I mean, literally, if Indiana is one of those teams, that means they're about 10 deep with teams that could do that. I don't know of as I'm trying to think, Purdue is a team that they could use that would boost them. I see them as a 3 seed. Not a lot of room to move up, though. That's with any team like that's in that area. Now you look up and you have to hope for teams to fall. And at this time, they're not going to fall very far, even if they fell 1 seed line like Duke. I wonder what happens with Duke. Let's say they lose to Michigan, or if they win. If they win, nothing's going to happen to Michigan. They just won't be the overall number 1 seed. That would kind of bump Duke up to that position. But if Duke loses, at the very least, they drop to the bottom of that number 1 bracket probably, and then they have to not lose again to fall out of it.
Yeah, I think with Duke, and obviously we're getting to kind of the ACC side of things, I don't see a team really catching up to them. I expect Duke to win the ACC tournament. They're a really good basketball team, right? And I think on Saturday, Duke versus Michigan will be the most watched game of the season, right? And I think a lot of eyes will be on there to see how these teams kind of compare with one another, because if whoever gets this win right here gets, all the momentum in the world going into March, going into their conference tournaments and the NCAA tournament. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens and stuff. But can the Big Ten get 2 number 1 seeds? I do think so. I think Illinois would be a one that could get in there. I agree with you with Purdue. I think they're probably around that 3 seed. Maybe they can sneak up to a 2 seed depending on how they finish the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, I think it just goes back to the depth of the Big Ten. Every single year you talk about the depth of the Big Ten and you talk about how many teams get into the NCAA tournament. I think at this point in time, the Big Ten is going to have some teams go on a run to the NCAA tournament, because until they have a team that can go to the Final Four, that can legit compete for a national championship, I do think that people may not take the Big Ten as serious just because of their track record over the last 20, 25 years.
Well, I don't know. I think they're going to have to take them serious this year just because Michigan is good. Illinois is good. They have 2 teams that can win a national championship, in my opinion, an only team. I don't see anybody else, Michigan State, Purdue, whomever. I don't see any of those other teams as national title winners. But Illinois and Michigan, you're damn right. Both of them. And they are both loaded with different types of talent that just can make life hell. Michigan has the cyborg, as I like to call him, that is just a beast in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's the perfect team, right? And like they have everything that you want. You know, they have great coaching. They have, great guards, playmaking guards. They have a legit front court. They have athletic wings. They have everything. And then you look at Illinois, they just got to get healthy because they can match up with Michigan pretty well. When it comes to a size, guard play, all those things, they just got to get healthy and get their guys back to 100%. But it'll be interesting. It really will be interesting to see what kind of the Big Ten can kind of do. In the NCAA tournament, I do think that you will see Illinois and Michigan at least go on runs, a second weekend team. It'll be curious to see kind of if there's a Michigan State or Purdue somewhere around there that can also kind of get on a run as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. What is up next for you?
It is it's the Purdue game tonight. So obviously I'll be there. We'll have most of our staff there covering everything. So make sure you go to thehoosier.com, check it all out. And then a couple weeks, we've got high school sectionals and all that stuff. So it's about to be really, really busy for me. So, but I love it. It's an exciting time of the year. It's the best time of the year when it comes to all the tournaments and everything going on in the world of basketball.
Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go there. And if you do not have a subscription, you are missing out. Subscribe now, get 50% off, and get the most information and the best on basketball and football for Indiana. Appreciate you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one. There he goes. Appreciate Kyler joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio as we head into this weekend of basketball action, baby. Tonight I mentioned that Indiana is at West Lafayette, but that's not the only game on the docket. There are I cannot believe the amount of college basketball games that there are scheduled on. Well, maybe I should get on the right day. Now I'm not as surprised. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Only 13 compared to, say, yesterday when it was like 5 times that amount. But Indiana, there's only one big-time game being played tonight. You've got Indiana at Purdue on Fox. All these other games are just Akron, VCU, St. Peter's, Sacred Heart, Princeton, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Niagara, Canisius, Marist, Siena, Bowling Green. And those were just the visiting teams. So as you can see, it's not a big night. But when you hit Saturday, then it gets busy again. And just looking into the Big Ten Conference, games that'll be happening. Rutgers goes to Minnesota at noon. Penn State will travel to Nebraska. That should be an easy win for them. Washington at Maryland. Oregon goes to USC. Oregon is worst team in the Big Ten, so that should be a win for USC. And USC is the last team in on that mock NCAA entry that I mentioned a minute ago. Illinois goes to UCLA. That'd be an interesting matchup because UCLA kind of needs winning. They're in that group. They're dropping to that group with Indiana as well. They're still in, but we'll see. But the big game at 6:30. Too. What an odd time. Number 1 Michigan takes on number 3 Duke at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Let's take a break. Well, I'm not quite there. So, Zach, I'm not quite at time for a break, but since you're here, got the Little 500 hat on. Not far from Little 5, man. I'm sure I haven't seen the bikes yet like I normally do, but I'm sure they're out on the roads getting their miles in already.
Yeah, I mean it's coming up now. I think rookie week should be going on right about now, especially with the weather that we've been having. So,
what is rookie? So, what is rookie week? Obviously, I know
rookie week is when anybody who's a first-year rider. I think they do some of this in fall now. Used to only do it in the spring. Anyone who's a first-year rider has to come out and just learn like the basics of track safety and etiquette and all that, just for kind of the purpose of being, safe around their fellow riders, how to ride in a pack, how to throw an exchange, all that kind of stuff.
And I know that they have to do a lot of the training out on the road, which can sometimes be dangerous. What talks go into that? Because it's just can be kind of scary out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be careful. I mean, I don't know anybody who, who's ridden the race who hasn't had an encounter with a car at some point. I went end over the back of a Buick Century once, riding back in on 45. Guy turned out in front of me, and I didn't have time to get away from it. But it's just got to be careful and ride with your head up, and never, frankly, never make any assumptions about whether or not the people on the road see you. I think that's the biggest piece of it.
How many little fives did you get to ride in?
I rode all 4 years.
Wow. What and who did you ride for?
I rode for Sigma Alpha Mu, a fraternity called Sigma Alpha Mu.
What was your best finish personally?
We finished 11th my sophomore year. We also took the pole my junior year. So we were a good team, not quite at that level of maybe winning the race, but we could hang. So
how many members? I know that there's 4 guys that ride in the actual race, but how many team members are there actually?
It varies from team to team. We never had more than maybe 5 or 6 at one time training. Anything much bigger than that starts to get kind of top heavy. But there will be teams where a guy might ride quals that doesn't ride the race, or vice versa. I didn't do quals every year I was in school. Excuse me. But I would say that ideal number is probably about 6. So that you got some depth, so that you can obviously protect against guys graduating and that sort of thing. But without, it being so big that it starts to become unmanageable.
And technology, there doesn't seem, while technology is always getting better, for this race, things seem pretty basic and not changing that much as far as the equipment.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the idea. I mean, that is very sort of baked into the history of the race, and different things have changed with the way that technology has changed, around bicycle construction. But there is the idea that, everyone should be working with roughly the same sort of set of tools on race day. And, that it essentially just, the gearing doesn't change. The specs of the bike don't change. You can change little bits and pieces, your seat and handlebars and things like that, although they've changed some of those rules recently as well. But the basic idea is that they, that everyone is riding on the same bike, and the bike is an equalizer.
Absolutely. Zach Osterman joining me now, and will be with me when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. Appreciate you. Back right after these messages. Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at NICOsports.com. That's NIKCOSPORTS.com. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave and Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back. It is Friday. Jim Coyle with you as always here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Joined now by Zach Osterman. As he does each Friday from the Indy Star, the IU Insider for the Star. And, of course, huge game tonight as Indiana travels to West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers after beating them in Assembly Hall earlier this year. A huge, the biggest win for Indiana so far on this season. And Purdue playing well right now, though, Zach, and this is a monumental ask for this team. But we've seen that they're capable of playing with them. They're capable of playing with a Nebraska. So we know that they can do that, especially if they can get games from guys who have not played as consistent lately, Nick Dorn or Josiah Miles or someone like that.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this game. I mean, it's the closest thing really that I think, if you're Indiana, you're going to get to a free hit in this rivalry, in the sense that I think, you've already beaten Purdue once this season. If you're Indiana, you know that your remaining home games are kind of the more important games for you at this point. This is obviously the Matt Painter, I think, was pretty open about kind of the idea that, the Big Ten title race is run for his team at this point. What did he say? He said this, Michigan's not losing 4 games. It's just the reality we've got to face. And I think, it's a lot harder to figure out where Purdue is than where Indiana is coming into this game. Your point is valid that if you're Indiana, you got to get some other guys going, and you need a good night from Sam Alexis. Another quietly Tucker DeVries has kind of strung some good games together here. Obviously, Lamar Wilkerson's got to be involved. But I'm looking more at Purdue's results, and you can kind of see it. One of a few different ways. You can say that the Michigan game was a bit of an outlier, that they'd won 4 in a row. You can also say that they're only 4-4 in their last 8 games, and that they were maybe a little bit fortunate to beat Oregon at home. Certainly we're fortunate to not fortunate. They earned their way back into the game, but I mean, it looked, for all the world like they were maybe going to, have created some trouble for themselves in Lincoln. And then they I mean, I think they led that game by 22 points, I think.
Yeah,
and
22.
They almost lost it in overtime. I think more generally, this is a team, talking about Purdue, that I think their weaknesses are just kind of too clear cut now, frankly. This team has kind of been losing games the same way when it has lost. And of course it has not lost that many, but when it has lost games, the last couple of years, it's kind of lost in the same way. And you'll get some extreme outliers. I think Michigan hit 16 threes, but you think back to that Iowa State game, or earlier in the year where, if you can kind of keep Braden Smith quiet, if you can make threes, you can kind of pull at their defense and put them in a tough spot. And I think my bigger question coming into this game, listen, Indiana-Purdue is, I called it a free hit earlier. It's never a truly free hit. It's still a rivalry game. It's still the most important game on these two teams' calendars annually. I think this has always been a sliding scale in sort of the IU basketball sphere of influence. But I think right now, and I'm not sure it's been this way all of my time on the beat, but I think right now the Purdue rivalry is probably more important to IU fans than the Kentucky rivalry. And maybe that'll change here in the next couple of years as the series renews. But I'm not suggesting that if Indiana goes up to Mackey tonight and loses by 19, which is totally possible, Purdue's really tough at home when they play well, that Indiana fans should just sort of shrug and move on. But I think Indiana fans also understand that where their team is positioned now, that this Purdue game is maybe from a coldly sort of analytical standpoint, when you ask like what's important to the rest of this season, this Purdue game's kind of the least important game. If we can sort of strip the if you can sort of strip the rivalry out of it, this is the game that there is the most to gain and the least to lose from Indiana's perspective. And that's why I'm really more stuck on where Purdue is, because I think Purdue, again, go back to that 4-game winning streak that sort of followed the 3-game losing streak. And then Purdue will have gotten, this game at home, or this week at home, rather, Michigan on Tuesday, Indiana on Friday, and sort of said, this is the week that really defines our season. Because if we can win both these games, then we're right there in the Big Ten title mix. We're right there in the mix for maybe a 1 seed. And maybe there's also a sense of maybe proving something, this team, to itself. And instead they just go out and, frankly, get pummeled by Michigan. And they do it in a way that I think is maybe worryingly familiar to this group that has been together for a long time. And sometimes that experience, a lot of times experience in college sports is a positive, but sometimes it can become a bit of a drag when you start to, come to realize how to recognize when a game's getting away from you, when an opponent's on top of you. I'm rambling here, but I do really, I don't know if I've been fascinated by an IU Purdue game at this level in a little while, because you have one team that I think certainly wants to be competitive and wants to win, but doesn't have to go into this game with a ton of pressure. And then you have another team that I think the gap between winning and losing and what it would mean to, as sort of a barometer to their season here at, frankly, the business end of February, is substantial. And I am fascinated to see what happens tonight at Mackey.
Well, and you've really put a highlight on that. I hadn't considered it and in that light, and wow. And as you say that, it damn, I almost get goosebumps, because it is true. It is exactly everything you just said. And, but that's why Zach Osterman is Zach Osterman and writes as well as he does, because that's how his mind works, and is able to pull out those great little features and facets. And Zach, that is exactly one of them. I like I said, I had looked at it that way, but boy, is that so true. And the facets that go into it, if this were not even a rivalry game, it would still be a very, very interesting game. But you add the rivalry facet to it, and it jacks it up, because we know what can happen in these games.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, like, I mean, this doesn't need to turn into like a forgive my language, a pissing contest or anything, and I'm not picking a side in the rivalry. But the this senior class, which has been so accomplished at Purdue, and like, let's give it credit. Like, I know we're on an IU centric show, but like, give these dudes credit. Like, they've won a lot of basketball games, big basketball games, important basketball games. These are guys that are going to be remembered justifiably as some of the best and most most accomplished players in the history of a program that's won more Big Ten titles than any other. So let's not let's not demean what Purdue is doing. If they lose this game, this group is all but guaranteed to finish with a losing record in this rivalry. At a time when obviously the gap between the programs competitively has been substantial. Obviously in Purdue's favor, the idea that Indiana has still been able to, I think Indiana's 5-5 in its last 10 against Purdue, has still been able to kind of turn that around. And I'm not sure if that doesn't maybe say something about, those small gaps Purdue's not been able to close in pursuing a national title. Obviously they came within one game and they lost to a really, really good UConn team. So again, let's not maybe overstate it, but I just, I get stuck on the idea that this Purdue team has been around each other and has been together for a really long time. And I know there's like rumors about, well, what if they don't like each other? I have trouble putting stock into that stuff. You and I have been around teams where that stuff starts to go around. Nobody's ever when Purdue was 17-1, there were no rumors that they didn't like each other. Like, this is, I always joke that it's, the not trying to be off color, but what you always hear is guys hitting on other teammates' girlfriends, and that's something that never happens when a team's ranked in the top 10, and always happens when a team's lost 3 in a row. It's remarkable how synced up those kind of rumors become with a season just going a little bit, drifting a little bit off course. But I do wonder sometimes with a team that does have such sort of an established set of sort of top line players who've been together for 3 or 4 years. And when they, not uniformly, but pretty consistently lose games in a lot of the same ways, it does make you feel like it just makes you wonder if maybe sometimes it's hard for them to block that out, because there is and will always be a measure of sort of disbelief you've got to have, like confidence in your own ability to overcome your weaknesses in sports, especially team sports. You've got to believe a little bit in your own invincibility against all odds, essentially. You have to kind of believe in the idea that, nothing can beat you if you don't let it. And sometimes I watch this Purdue team and I just wonder if they've lost just enough of these games that when that stuff starts tilting against them, it is hard for them to shake the idea that it's happening again. And that confidence can be tricky. Now, the flip side is Indiana's got to put them in that position. And that's really hard to do in Mackey Arena. When was the last time Indiana shot well in Mackey Arena? Like, they've won in Mackey Arena, but when was the last time they shot well in Mackey Arena? Because even if you want to go back to that 2023 game where Indiana won up there, Indiana was only 7-15 from three. That's a good percentage, but it's not a, that game was defined by, as much as anything else, one player just becoming unplayable. They have got to put Purdue in that position, and genuinely, somebody can call me up on this if I'm wrong, but like the last time I remember Indiana shooting particularly well in Mackey Arena, it's been a long time. Like, I've seen Indiana win up there and still not shoot well, like just not shoot well at all. And I don't think I don't think Indiana can win this game just because Purdue, sort of is fragile right now. Indiana's got to put Purdue in that position, and I don't think it's by any means a guarantee that they can. It is still Mackey Arena at 8:00 on a Friday night. That is not the kind of environment I want to walk into if I'm a basketball player anywhere.
No, it's going to be very loud all game long and all around them with the structure of that arena, man. Safe travels. I hope you got through the weather okay. You're on the south side as well. That's right. So you should have been all right as well. But, man, oh, man, it came through like a freight train last night from the west side. But hope everyone is doing fine. But good luck in West Lafayette tonight, brother.
Thanks, Jim. We'll see you up there. I appreciate it. Good talking to you as always.
Thank you. Have a great one. Zach Osterman, the insider, IU insider for the Indianapolis Star. More coming up. I think Bob Kravitz might join us right after these messages. Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at NICOsports.com. That's NIKCOSPORTS.com.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Glad to have you along. Big sports weekend as always. Purdue and Indiana tonight as the Boilers host Indiana. Purdue sitting at 11-4 in the conference standings, tied. So that would put them third, fourth, and fifth, three-way tie with Nebraska and Michigan State. They have a win over Nebraska. So I still think I see Purdue as a 3 seed. Michigan, obviously, a number 1 seed. Illinois has a chance to be a number 1 seed. We'll see. Part of that will have to do with Michigan and Duke tonight. See who wins that game. If Michigan loses, that all that would do is knock them out of the overall number 1 seed. And it would give Duke probably the overall number 1 seed at the moment. Whoever wins that game, without question. I don't think the loser of either. Well, I know Michigan wouldn't drop out, and I don't think Duke would either. They will probably just drop to maybe the bottom of the number 1 seed bracket. Can Illinois get there? Yes, they can. Purdue, can they climb? Yeah. Not to 1. They could climb to a 2, but I see them as a 3. I see Nebraska as a 3. Michigan State. I mean, there's 3 teams right there in the Big Ten that could all be like in that 3 seed area. Wisconsin, probably. They're gonna. They'll be lower. They're 18-8. All those other teams have already hit 20 wins. Michigan has 25 wins on the season already. 25-1. What a spectacular season Dusty May is having there in Ann Arbor. The Iowa Hawkeyes, 19-7. There'll be Ohio State has come on. They're 9-6 in the conference, 17-9 overall. They're in the tournament now. They've earned their way up, buddy. They went from being on that bubble, said no, we don't want any of that. UCLA, they're in that same area there above Indiana, and then you've got USC, who is struggling to hold on and is the last team in the tournament right now with the mock. It's not a mock draft, but whatever you want to call it, listings that went on yesterday. Where did that go? That was pretty interesting. I'd like to find that again. But it definitely, I bet I know where it is. But that's going to change some. The conference tournaments will obviously change that. How much it changes for all the teams, we'll see going forward. But does the Big Ten get off of this schneid and win a natty this year? And boy, that would give them football and basketball. So that would be another feather in the cap for the Big Ten. But Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, reiterated yesterday that he supports an expanded NCAA basketball tournament format, but would not comment on whether it will happen in 2027. We're still talking to the various players in this one, Baker said Thursday. Who are the various players? I said all along that I think there are some very good reasons to expand the tournament. Yeah, well, what are they? So I would like to see it expand. Well, what are those reasons? When asked what he thought the 2027 format would look like, he was non-committal but doubled down on his view. I would like to expand the tournament. I. Okay, we know you want to, but why? What are these reasons? What are these good reasons? There are no good reasons. Gee whiz. You didn't even have barely enough quality teams to fill last year's bracket. So now you want to stuff some other teams that are undeserving into it. Ridiculous. NCAA Senior Vice President of Basketball, Dan Gavin, announced later yesterday that the NCAA committee is pausing any discussion or decisions about expansion until after this year's NCAA tournament. Baker has long been an advocate for expanding the event, consistently citing the absence of Indiana State and Seton Hall in the 2024 men's tournament as one of the reasons behind that stance. He also said Thursday that he has spoken to student athletes on campuses and that they all tell him they appreciate the postseason tournaments, giving them an opportunity to compete. Well, of course they appreciate it, but you still have to earn your stinking way in. Damn. Why don't you just open it up to everybody? I mean, that's where we're getting. Give everybody a ribbon. Give them all a trophy. I mean, that is, it seems like what we're heading for. Just give them all and make everybody feel good. Oh, yes, you're so good. You did well. Yes, you're 15 and 14, but you deserve to be in this tournament. Oh, yes. That's ridiculous. But it's just so funny. All this talk about, there are good reasons, this, that, but there is not a single reason listed. Not one in that entire piece right there. So, yeah, whatever. So we'll see. Freshman of the year. Who's Mikael Brown at Louisville, man? He's definitely making an argument for it. Darren Peterson's availability or inavailability is probably going to cost him. Got Cameron Boozer, who's ranked number 1 in that category, AJ DeBansa, Darius Acuff, Arkansas, Caleb Wilson, Keaton Wagler. These guys are all freshmen and have been tremendous. Kingston Flemings at Houston, Mikael Brown at Louisville. Man, all of these guys have been phenomenal. Nate Ament at Tennessee, of course, and then Darren Peterson, Braden Burries at Arizona. Man, that's something Indiana doesn't have, is just this great talent that is able to do that at that young age. What will they look like next year? What's Purdue going to look like next year? Both interesting thoughts. You know, Indiana is just rebuilt completely from ground zero this season. They're going to lose a big portion of those guys. Purdue has had that core group of guys together for what seems like a decade. But Trey Kaufman-Wren, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, they'll be gone. And it will end this run for Purdue that kind of started with Mount Edie. How's it going to what does Purdue have to do for that to seem like a successful period? I know if you're a Purdue fan, hey, they've won a lot of games and they won some Big Ten titles. So there is success in that. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of teams would take that. Trust me. But there was just no national success. They did get to the national championship game with Edie, but not able to do anything. And I just wonder what that is going to be looked at later on. Was that a successful run or not? That's up to others to decide, but We shall see. Anybody watching the Olympics, man? I haven't watched much of it. I have to be honest with you. But let's see. No big games there. I'm just looking around for other bits of info that is interesting. But I have not seen a ton of the Olympics. I did watch some of it last night. I know the men's hockey team, boy, I think they made it to the gold medal game, and the women's won the gold medal. USA has done pretty decent in these games. Hits, misses, but that's always the case. You're never going to have everything go well. Let's see. The Pacers, how are they doing? I think they lost last night, I believe. They did. They were on the road. They lost to the Wizards. So, but more importantly, they're in last place. That's funny to say. More importantly, they're in last place. 15-41 on the season. Not quite as good as Sacramento. They're 12-45, and the Pelicans, New Orleans, 15-41. And then back over in their own Eastern Conference, the Wizards, who they played last night, they lost to, who also only has 15 wins. That was their 15th win on the season. So good job, Pacers. Yeah. Golly, it's just so funny to say. It really is. To suggest or laugh and, hey, good loss. Hey, that's the way to go. But it is. It's the truth. It's a race to the bottom. And losing to the team that you're tied with at the bottom, smart play. Smart play. They've got more games coming up, and hopefully they can keep on. They've, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've done well. They've lost 6 straight after winning 3 straight, including a win over Boston. It started with a win over Boston when they won those 3 straight games not too long ago. The Heat and the Hornets. But now they're on this 6-game losing streak, which I'm sure that fans would rather see that continue, which, as oddly as that sounds, yes, I know. But next up, they play Washington again. At Washington. Tonight, ironically, back-to-back games. So maybe they can lose 2. Then they head to, they come back home to take on Dallas, Philadelphia, Charlotte, Memphis. All home games coming up over the next week for the Pacers. So you've got that chance. Then they head out west to LA. So we'll keep up with that. Monday we'll have Dustin Empiric on with us and talk about the success that they've had at losing more games. How funny that is. Olympics, like I said, Alyssa Liu, Olympic figure skating champion. How about that? Eileen Gu, competing for China while she was born in San Francisco. I don't know how you can compete for another country when you were born in a different country, and especially if you live in that country. I don't get that. I don't care if your parents, I don't care anything. It's, you were born in America, you live in America, but you compete for another country. Maybe you should go live there. Just thinking. Just a thought. Hey, let's take a break. More coming up. I'm glad you're with us on this Friday. We'll get to some comments if Bob doesn't join us in the next segment. Hope you're doing well. And Man, I hope everyone made it through last night okay. I still don't know the extent of all the damage that hit Bloomington with that tornado, but definitely was some. But we've got more coming up. Back with you right after these messages.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, plus a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
You're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area? You need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch your teams on the big screen and level it all up with the high-flying human crane. Private game suites and more, only at 731 South College Ball Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Glad to have you along. Glad that we all made it to the end of the week and made it through some rough weather if you were in the Bloomington area last night. But I know that there was other places that got it. It was kind of rough all over, not necessarily with tornadoes, but just rough weather. Hope everyone is okay. The Bears obviously are kind of playing Indiana and Illinois against each other as they attempt to get state taxpayers' help in building a new stadium. My first question is, let's say that wherever they move, doesn't matter. They moved to Indiana, they moved to a different place in Illinois. What the hell happens to Soldier Field? What do you do with a stadium like that? That is, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I'm sure that the reason that they're doing this is for, I don't know what all the purposes are. If it's luxury suites, if it's more control, I'd have to look more into that. But regardless, what the hell do you do with Soldier Field? It's not domed, so it's not like you can do a lot of different things in it. Crazy. The team and the governor of Indiana both put out statements saying they're making progress on an agreement to build a stadium. The Illinois governor's office put out a statement saying that was news to Illinois. Matt Hill, a spokesman for the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, wrote on social media as recently as yesterday the Bears were representing to Illinois that things were heading in the right direction to pass a bill in the Illinois General Assembly that would keep the team in the state. Illinois was ready to move this bill forward, Hill wrote. After a productive 3-hour meeting, the Bears leaders requested that the Illinois General Assembly pause the hearing to make further tweaks to the bill. This morning, we were surprised to see a statement lauding Indiana and ignoring Illinois. The Bears have attempted to get taxpayers' support to remain in Illinois, either with a new stadium at the same site as Soldier Field. How the hell do you do that? Or in the suburb of Arlington Heights, Illinois, about 30 miles away. Their proposed stadium in Hammond, Indiana, is about 20 miles away. So, you got that going for you. But if you build a new stadium on the same site as Soldier Field, how the hell do you do that? Is it going to be next to Soldier Field? And that's a cramped area. If you know anything about that area of Chicago, it's right there by the lake as you're coming in. Not a lot of room there. Parking sucks. That's part of their issue, I would imagine. But again, how on God's green earth could you build another stadium while, what are you going to play in Soldier Field while you're building a new one next to it? Yeah. Whew. We'll have to see. Interesting. I mean, can you imagine Indiana with 2 NFL football teams? That would be crazy. And there's a lot of Bears fans I know, especially in that, I mean, the region, people from the region, they're White Sox fans, they're Bears fans, some Cubs fans, but more White Sox fans than Cubs fans, it seems like, in the region. But and they're closer to the region for that, if you're thinking about it. But that would be something. They'd still be the Chicago Bears, but it would be. Can you imagine the Hammond Bears? That would be funny. The Indiana Bears. Yeah, no name change. I'm just kidding. They would stay the Chicago Bears no matter what. Andrew says the region is part of Greater Chicago. Why not Hammond? I mean, it is true. It is. I mean, that is exactly true. It is. It's a part of their metropolitan area. It's in their media market. We're on WJOB that covers all of Chicago, and it would just be huge, man. There you go, 5. Bear down. Bear down. Yep. Let's see who was just a Pecans is still a Bears fan and a White Sox fan. See, I hit it right. I knew it. Fred says, didn't the Bears play at the University of Illinois while Soldier Field was renovated or remodeled? You know what? I don't remember, but very possibly. I can't remember what that field holds. And it's further south. That'd be something. But yeah, they could and would have to do something. But it's amazing that Chicago doesn't have more stadiums than it does. Andrew says the Cincinnati Reds moving to Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Yeah, no, I don't see that happening. That would be funny. Per Russell, the Chicago Park District owned stadium may have its newer seating sections removed to restore the historic colonnades while hosting smaller events, concerts, and soccer games. Well, that would make sense because I think they ruined that stadium when they did that remodeling. It was Soldier Field. It was a Memorial Stadium type deal, and they turned it into a freaking spaceship. I mean, it looked like a spaceship if you've ever gone there. Wild. So yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not a big deal. 5, the Jets and the Giants play in New Jersey, of course, over in the Meadowlands. Yeah. There's no yeah, you'd have to make the Bears fans in Illinois pay a toll to get to Hammond. Well, don't you already have to? I can't remember. I just know they have a ton of toll roads up there, man. Too many that I like. Gee whiz. And it's been that way forever. How can you have toll roads that long? I I do not understand. More Olympics going on tonight. What? I don't even know what's on the schedule tonight for the Olympics. Oh, how about the Canadians cheating their asses off in curling? I'm sure you all have seen this, where the Canadian guy gets politely accused of cheating, and he tells that guy to F off. You can F off. Well, who did it? I haven't done it once. You can F off. Of course, the Swedes knew that they were doing this, so they had cameras set up to show there's the line that once you hit the line and you begin your release, it's called the hog line. Once the whatever the hell the stone reaches that point, the hog line, and you release the stone, you can't touch it. And every time you could see that one guy would release it and then drop his hand below the back of the stone with a single finger and then kind of can push it or direct it. Saw their women's team do the same damn thing. Those cheating ass Canadians. Wow, who'd have thunk it? But yeah, not only did the dude cheat, he tells the guy to F off. And I'm like, wow. The Olympic Committee couldn't do anything about it, though, because it was not their camera that caught them. So there's that. That's life, though, right? That is life. The combine next week, man. Wow. So we're going to have a lot of action going on next week with football. A lot of 9 Indiana players offered to go there. There will be Purdue players there. There'll be tons of players from the Big Ten, just tons of great players to look out. Who's going to go where? Who's going to end up getting taken where in the draft? Who does well at the combine? Who is shown to be what? Speed, measurements, and all of that good stuff. The Wonderlic test. Van asking, is curling that big where you are tempted to cheat? Well, my question is, how in the hell is curling an Olympic event? You're not athletes. There is nothing athletic about curling. Pardon me. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's shuffleboard. Go to any VFW or American Legion. Shuffleboard is what we're talking about here. Is darts an Olympic event? It might as well be. Let's make every bar event. They should make shuffleboard, darts, and golden tee. They should all three be Olympic events. They're the same as curling. You just don't have a broom out on the ice. Saw a great video a guy made. He was curling in his kitchen with his Roomba and one of those little dust brooms in front of it. It was hilarious. But yeah, it's ridiculous. But hey, man, hopefully heading out to a better weekend weather-wise this weekend. What is it going to be? It's going to be okay. Gee whiz, 70 degrees for a high yesterday. But that's why we had that wonky weather, dude. We're not this is this time of year and you get that heat and those cold fronts mixing together. No bueno. No bueno. But yeah, daggone it. Sunday is just going to be a high of 29. Dude, yesterday it was 70. But we're in that time of year. So it won't be the last time we see some funky weather, man. No doubt about that. Appreciate you, Fred. 56 days until IU spring day football game. Robert. You got that right, man. That's less than 2 months. Less than 2 months. And we'll be talking football all next week. The combine. Football has become a year-round subject for us now. College football, which is great. Love it. Love to have something like that to talk about year-round. I was just looking at Heather Dittich from ESPN, IU grad, by the way. Never gave IU anything, really. Credit-wise, I mean. But her way too early top 25, but you know how much I love those. Doesn't matter who the hell it's from. I hate them. But she has, let's see, I forget who she had number. Where did that go? She had Indiana number 3, by the way, which, it's about right. I'm trying to remember I think she may have had Texas at number 1, but I don't see it now, but I'll find it eventually. I did see that Mel Kiper was responding to somebody saying that anybody that thinks Fernando Mendoza is not worthy of the number 1 pick is out of their mind. And I agree. Let's see. Notre Dame she had Notre Dame number 2, Indiana number 3, Ohio State number 4. But just the fact that that's where we are now. Texas, Notre Dame, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. That's who we're talking about, man. Gotta love it. And I do. Pecan says number 3 is about right. Yeah, I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I top 5. They're a top 5 team. That's all I can say until don't know what these other teams are truly going to be like. And nobody else does. That's why last year when they ranked Penn State or Texas at number 1 and Penn State number 2 and Clemson at number 3, and those teams ended up being junk. It's because you don't know. You're guessing. You're going off of, part of what they're going off of is just false expectations that are created through false narratives. The one solid you have, and I saw somebody say this was great. The biggest return Indiana has is Kurt Cignetti as head coach. Yeah, you're not wrong. 5, I agree with you. I think Josh Hoover is going to be a superstar. He already is a superstar. Damn, he's thrown for 9,000 yards already. 3 years of starting experience in the Big 12. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And it's been fun all day. I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. As always, we get to come back Monday and do this all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.